Well, I got a little time here to see if we can get through some more of this board meeting. They canceled August. They just canceled it. It was like, we're not going to have it. Here, I'll show you. Trimet.org comes right up. Let me show you here. Here we are. Where are we? Agency, blah, 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 organization, safety. Here it is, meetings, public meetings. They just put a line right through that. Yeah. No, we just scratched that one out. The August 11th meeting has been canceled, and there's no explanation. Pootie says it's because they're on vacation. That's a pretty weak-ass excuse. I don't remember a board meeting being canceled. That's a first, I think. My memory isn't so hot these days. But I believe that's the first one I've ever seen that they just scratched it. And it's even more amazing because they all do it from home anyway on their computers. You don't even have to go in. Turn on your computer, sign in, and you're ready to go. But no, they don't want to have their meeting for some reason. So what is it they're hiding from us is what I always think. I invited Pootie, but he's on the road, and maybe he'll show up, maybe he won't. In the meantime, we're not waiting for
him. Board members, was anyone like to make a comment?
Look at that smile on her little face. oh yeah, wait, okay, yeah, stop. Right, this guy here, Morris, his name, has just made a very, very important comment to this board. And his comment was that they had more people doing his job in 1996 than they do now. And that's before the Trimet expansions. So that is what I've been yelling about forever, is they've cut down the operational side of this agency to benefit the capital project side. And everything is now a mess because they've cut everything to the bare bone. And I listen to these dispatch calls all day, and you'd be shocked how many I hear. So many calls of dispatchers begging the operators to cover runs. It's just all day long, trying to plead with these operators to cover their runs, and they're still canceling loads of runs. Basically, Trimet is a non-functioning transit district, folks. So I hope you understand some of that. You'll get where you're going, but you're not going to get there on time. Okay, the buses lots of trips are canceled, lots of runs are canceled, so it's not functioning. The agency is not functioning properly. It's worse than ever. I've never seen so much begging for operators as I've seen lately. And this guy just gave them the hard-hitting facts. And I mean, he told them right out, you've cut back the staff. We can't maintain the facilities without people. So let's see if they have any questions for him. I know that. Look at Sam's not smiling now, is he? Look at that face. Look, he wasn't expecting that, were you, Sam? I see they bringing in these employees now. They want to show employees to the board, which is probably a pretty good, I think that's a good move. Bring in some real people to talk to the board. This is the first one they brought in that told them something that they don't want to hear.
This is Lori. I'll start. Paul, I just want to say thank you. First of all, thank you for making the board aware of the infrastructure issues you've just described about some of the aged.
All right. So she just acknowledged his testimony. That's good. She didn't just ignore it. She acknowledged it. That doesn't mean anything is going to happen around this because, as I've told you before, this is all basically a big advertising. Maybe that's why they canceled the meeting, because they had scheduled another employee that was going to tell them shit they don't want to hear.
Equipment, and also this, we are aware of the staffing shortages, and we hope that some of the recent steps are going to alleviate those problems. But it's so helpful for the board to hear this directly from somebody who with such long experience. But I also want to say that, thank you for your actions above and beyond the call of duty during that heat dome event. It's not the type of thing I'm sure that you could have trained for. I'm sure you, based on your years of experience, you had to improvise and figure out the next steps just to keep the system operating. So I am just so grateful to you and just really in awe of how you were able to use your.
Yeah, well, basically, the union personnel covered for the management failures again. I mean, all the people that step in to do the job are covering for the management failures to maintain adequate staffing levels. Yeah, I know nobody wants to be a bus driver anywhere in the country anymore. People have wised up to the fact the job's not so great, especially now. They cut away all of the things that used to make Trimet special. They had the greatest benefits. They had defined pensions. It was a good job, and they've now turned it into just, well, you make a good paycheck after 3 years. But somebody pointed out on the Twitter that your average pay for the first 3 years is going to be $24 an hour. So for $24 an hour, you're going to be out in the middle of the shit, okay? Because you're out in the middle of the world that's collapsing around you. And anybody that's watching any of the scanner calls knows it's a dangerous job now. It's very dangerous. And so many people, I don't want to get into the fact that so many people are being turned away, but they are. And so they're piling up enemies along the way too here. So, the answer to the staffing shortage is double the pay. But, these oligarchs and their agents would rather the riders be left in the cold than do that. And this is the kind of world we're living in. The people out here, me and you, we don't count for anything. They don't care about us at all. That is not an exaggeration. That is the truth. They don't operate any of this for us.
All the skills you've gained over the years to keep the system running, and I just on behalf of the public, I do want to thank you.
Thank you very much.
Any other comments from board members?
Yeah, I bet you that guy knows what he's doing.
I just want to thank you, Paul, as well, for because having not have that particular experience, but being out there when things go south on you, and you got to try to figure out how to keep things working and making sure that you're safe while doing it. So I just thank you for all the work and innovation that you provided in making that happen. So thank you again.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Ozzy, did I hear your voice?
Yes, I'd love to add a word. Thank you, President Simmons. I would love to add a few words here. Paul, thank you so much.
It's our favorite board member, Ozzy Gonzalez, who gets in the sewer with the rest of us.
Much for sharing your story today. I know that climate resilient infrastructure is a big fancy word, but you show us that behind that there's a whole lot of stick-to-itiveness, a lot of just human ingenuity, a lot of basic get the job done, figure out what needs to happen at moments. And, behind all the bells and whistles of infrastructure, at the end of the day, it's, folks like yourself, Paul, getting up, looking at stuff, figuring things out, communicating with the team that really keeps us running. And thank you for getting it back to that level and showing that, to do this right. It's a great example that you share, because this isn't the job description every day, but you have to figure out how to fill in those gaps. And so you're a testament, frankly, to what it.
Guess who's calling? Folks, it's Pootie. He's on the line here. What?
Pootie.
Oh, I've already started, and Ozzy's talking. Okay, Ozzy, our man Ozzy. You want to hear that?
Sure. Let's hear some of what Ozzy's
takes to serve the public and to get out of our own bubbles when we need to figure out these new problems, because we're seeing these problems more and more. Thank you so much. Yes.
Okay, he was brown. We ended I don't know if you saw the last episode because you weren't in it, but this guy from maintenance talked to the board, and he told them point blank that there's not enough people to do the maintenance. Okay, he said that in 1996 they had 21 people doing his job, and in 2021 they have 16 people doing his job, and that's before the green line and the whatever the yellow line, all the lines that have come in since 1996. So they've actually cut staffing from 1996 to 2021, even though the agency has grown. Did you catch any of that in the last episode if you watched it?
I don't think I remember hearing that part.
Yeah,
When did the blue line get extended? Was that
that was 1997.
97? So the blue line extension was after this too. Huh?
Yes, the blue line extension was after. I guess this guy came in 1998 or something. I forgot. But anyway, yes, the staffing has actually shrunk from back then to now, even though they've expanded the system 3 times. Especially, so I mean that really is the problem in a nutshell, right there. Is that they've choked the operations department so that the capital projects department can get more money. Okay, that's what's happened. Okay.
And their arguments can be saying that we build it bigger and better, so we don't need any.
Well, I haven't heard the first board member here. What's her name? I forgot. I can't think straight. Anyway, she said they were happy that he brought the information forward that they needed to know that. But I'm sure. But then she said we already know there's a staffing problem here. But these answers are not. I don't buy it. They know there's a problem, but they don't fix the problem. So that's on them. That's on them.
The board doesn't care about operational problems. That's Sammy's
No.
job.
No, they don't. I mean, they just don't. There's a transit system there, but they very rarely talk about it at these board meetings. All right, let's get.
Yeah, they don't care about the work there.
No. This is all about money. Capital projects. It's a capital projects agency. Okay, I'm not just.
Mm-hmm. That's what the board's there for. Spend, like Ozzy said on Twitter, his job is to look 5-10 years out as board member. What's going on operational today? That's Sammy's job. Take it to him, and he'll ignore you later.
No, their job is not that, even though he says it is. Their job is to try to make sure things are running properly for the public. But that's not.
Well, that's what we think.
That's not what they do. They're there to support the general manager. The public has no representation here.
Oh, hell no.
Yeah, none, as in zero.
Thank you.
Director Lewis?
Okay, here comes another one.
Oh, thank you, Paul. I'd just like to echo
This is Dr. Laverne Lewis.
special words of my colleagues on your generous time that you have served here with Trimet, especially your dedication and...
Yeah, this guy worked like every single day for 15 hours a day during that heat event. Okay.
And he never won Employee of the Year either, so...
Yeah, probably not, but I mean, once again, you see the example of the working class bailing out the incompetence of the management class. Now, if that had been me, I wouldn't. I'm telling you, I wouldn't have done it. I'd said no. Okay, I don't compromise my life because of management incompetence. Okay, maybe he wanted the overtime. A lot of the people love the overtime. I was never one of those people that cared about the money. I never. But maybe he wanted the overtime, but the way it sounds like here is like he was doing it because there was nobody else could do it. So I think he's somewhat dedicated employee. I mean, there are dedicated employees there. You know that. They're not all like...
That's his own personal decision.
What?
But hey, at least you got to take apology out of it, or say thank you.
Yeah, and now the board's bringing in these frontline personnel to speak now. You notice that? The board is starting to bring in some of the frontline people to talk to them, which is like a new addition to their little party, which I find interesting, and it's probably a very good addition to bring in some frontline people to talk or illustrate their accomplishments or whatever.
Yeah, it always depends if they're doing it for substance or they're doing it for show.
Well, it's all a show.
Yeah.
We know that. I mean,
if you're inviting him in just to put on the show, then
yeah.
And not
well, it's all a show, and then they canceled the next show for some reason. They just canceled it, and you say, was it you that said it's vacations? But
yeah, I know. I'm boycotting the canceled meeting.
I don't remember them ever canceling a meeting, especially now that they just have to turn on their computers from wherever they are. I mean, they have laptops. I'm sure they're talking on laptops here. So, I mean, they don't have to be anywhere. So I wonder what's really going on with that one. I really wonder about that.
I still want them to approve my old records request for their searches on those laptops. I wanted to see if that one got denied.
Yeah.
How much time is Ozzy spending on Pornhub? I need to know.
Yeah, they're not going to tell you that.
Hey, that laptop is Trimet property. I should have access to it.
Yeah, you should be a lot of things, but that's not the way things work in this country now. You have the elites and then you have the population, and the two don't interface. We're out here, they're in there, and they keep us at bay. You know, they don't want us involved in their little world. They want to keep us out of it. And this doesn't just apply to Trimet. This applies to every level of government right now. You know, they know better. We don't know, and you know they're pulling in the fat stacks of cash. You know, it's a self-perpetuating thing. You know, they're making all this money. Their egos blow up. They think they're important, and there's no way to get to them. You know, the whole system is set up to perpetuate itself. You can't change the system in the system. You know, you just can't. It won't ever happen. Period. You can't do it. Let's see.
On behalf of the public and Trimet, thank you.
Yeah. So this is the.
Thank you.
They're all just saying.
Paul, it's apparent that you're one of the backbones of the Trimet
Oh,
operation.
here, this guy
Thank
is
you.
Thomas Kim, the youngest board member in history of Trimet. Thomas Kim.
And thank you for making time to come chat with us. We really appreciate your time as well for today. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you.
It's all very cute.
You know, I would just like to echo the comments that other board members have shared. Oftentimes, I think the public has, and as well as board members, don't understand the complexity of what it takes for the agency to run every day. And so your coming, the recognition you've received has also helped us to understand some of the complexities that it takes to keep this agency going in some of the more extreme circumstances. You know, heat, cold, rain.
Except that the agency doesn't actually go in extreme circumstances. It fails.
Not that I don't understand it. They turn a blind eye to it.
Yeah, right. I mean, you know, we know this was coming. We're listening to the operation. We saw this shutdown, but they don't really inform people of the potential of getting stranded, which is really my issue. I mean, you can't control these. Yeah, you can't control these things. I understand. You know, there's going to be breakdowns, but they should be honest with the public about it, and they're not. They're not honest about it. They don't tell the public anything. Oh, by the way, you might get stranded if you take our system somewhere. They don't tell people that, and that was always my issue.
Regular days and everything. There's just so many people that really make a very complex organization work on behalf of the community, and your support for
really not
your
that
colleagues
complex.
and the agency is just greatly
If
appreciated.
they think that's
Thank you
complex,
so
then
much.
they shouldn't be board members.
Thank you.
It's not that complex. I mean, the operations side is not that complex. You run buses, you run trains. You have the support staff to keep them running. That's not that complicated. They did it for decades before all this technology came in, okay? It was all done just by people talking and writing pieces of paper, okay? It's gotten more complicated as technology has ruined our world, including this.
President Simmons, may I make one final closing remark, please?
I don't know who this woman is.
Thank you.
she's some-
Director Bauman's comments reminded me that I was remiss in failing to mention one of the highlights of the events of that very challenging event. You may have seen General Manager Dessou's email last week recognizing the innovation of our trainer, Keith Vitko. Keith had recognized that this equipment is at the end of its useful life and likely to fail, and had started to strategize creative implementations that we might consider to continue to extend its useful life. And that was a critical part of the success of that heat.
How about you replace it? Okay. How about instead of like the better red, they replace this equipment that's failing? I mean, the Better Red is a perfect example of how they waste money on useless capital projects. At least Division, you get some buses out of the deal. But we're at Better Red, you get nothing.
They're always replacing crap.
No, they're not. He
They're doing it.
just said they're not. Okay.
The whole steel bridge switches that they had closed
Oh
down.
yeah, I see
Then
your
what
point.
happened like 2 days later?
They replace it and then it breaks down immediately. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, they're always updating and fixing the current system, but
Yeah, it never seems to fix it, does it? Yeah.
No, they just spend millions of dollars and
Yeah, nothing ever changes, even though they spend the money.
And Paul played a huge role in that. And it involved devising a misting system that would continually mist this equipment, which really did go very far in keeping it operational, in addition to getting up on the roof and hosing things down. So I'm sorry that I failed to mention that earlier, but I think it's important for the board to realize how committed our folks are and how much time they spend researching and thinking proactively about how to keep this equipment that is at the end of its useful life going. And we're just very fortunate that it all came together just before the Heat Dome event, and we were able to implement that and utilize that to keep things operational. So thank you again for your time this morning.
You didn't keep things operational, lady.
And our entire team.
a misting system. So
Director.
they're going to have misting systems through all the miles of rail to keep the system cool.
Yeah, he was doing something on the roof. I forgot exactly what he was doing. He was on the roof of one of the buildings, keeping the roof wet. You know, he's like hosing it down or something.
What they have to do with keeping the system running?
Because that's the equipment in there or something that, you know how they got a bunch of computer shit in there. If that stuff overheats. I don't remember the exact details, but he was up on the roof doing something. This guy, obviously, he was.
Okay, I must have missed that.
He was obviously working his ass off.
Gonzalez, did you have another
Wait,
They
comment?
have these things called air conditioners.
No, President Simmons, thank you.
Okay.
Okay.
We'll turn it back to you, Sam Dessou.
Sam Dessou, you're the
All
dude.
right. Again, thank you, President Simmons and board.
Yeah, I was watching Sam's face through this. He wasn't smiling. Okay, I don't think he expected that gentleman to talk about things that were not perfect. You know, I think he was a little taken off guard by this guy. It's so rare. It's so rare to see anybody show up and talk about something that's not being done there. You know, it's just his smile wasn't on his face. Let's put it that way.
For your comments. Paul, just thank you, and we appreciate what you do for us. We all value you, so thank you very much.
Should give him a bonus.
At this time, President Simmons, that concludes my report for this morning.
Very good. Thank you so much. I think it's now time for us to move into the consent agenda. And for those listening who aren't a part of the board, it's important to know that the consent agenda is considered items that are considered routine, and so that the board can approve them with just a blanket motion. So this morning's consent agenda only has the minutes from the last meeting, June 23rd, 2021.
That's easy.
So is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Aye.
So moved?
Ozzy has
Why do they bother with this? Just
a
pass it.
motion made, and is there a second?
Obvious.
Second.
Director Edwards is the second.
Okay.
So is there any comments or anything from the board? Any edits
No.
that need to be made?
This is Director Kim. I'll be abstaining from voting on this since I was not participating in that meeting as a board member. Thank you.
Great, thank you.
So.
Hearing none, then
If I was Ozzy, I'd be calling racism.
Don't get
all in favor, would you please say
He called him
aye?
Ozzy, but it was a director.
Aye.
Remember? You catch
And
that?
opposed?
Yeah.
Oh, Ozzy. Ozzy said
And
that.
then your
Oh,
abstention.
what about you, director?
Sure.
No
Okay, so the
respect.
motion
No respect
carries.
for Ozzy.
So we're now going to move into the resolution.
Okay, here comes the big
And
resolution.
our first business resolution is Resolution 21-07-39, requesting that the Trimet Board of Directors adopt an amendment to the HR Policy 4.4, Trimet's Criminal Records policy.
Criminal record.
Mr. General Manager, your comments?
Thank you, President Simmons. Members of the board, Oregon law requires Trimet to conduct criminal records checks of job applicants and employees who transport passengers.
They do that.
Or have access to safety and security sensitive information and facilities. And the law requires our criminal records policy to be adopted by a resolution of the board of directors. Our Human Resources Division discovered a gap in our current criminal records policy concerning outstanding warrants for arrest of job applicants and employees. And this resolution is necessary.
That's a pretty big gap, don't you think? You can apply for the job, but they didn't bother to check if you have a warrant out on you. It's pretty. It's
Very Trimet.
Very Trimet indeed.
To close that gap. Just as the original policy was required to be adopted by the board, this amendment to the policy must be adopted by the board. The amendment would allow Trimet to decline to hire a job applicant when a criminal record check finds an active warrant for arrest within any jurisdiction. It would also allow...
I'm surprised that the current records check doesn't show that. Wouldn't if you did a criminal background check, wouldn't it show warrants? I would think it would, but I guess it didn't.
Only if they're checking in the Oregon. If they're checking state of Oregon.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean Rippy doesn't have one out of Clark County,
I would think that with today's computers, it's all right there.
To suspend a current employee from employment if the employee is found to have an active warrant for arrest
they're going to go back
from any jurisdiction. The actual amendment is shown on page 6 of the criminal records policy, which is attached as Exhibit A to the resolution. This amendment is the only change to the policy being requested at this time. Your approval is recommended. Here we have Executive Director of HR and LR, Kim Sewell. Any questions? And our Deputy General Counsel, Ankur, is here. Doshi is here to assist us as well.
Okay. Before we go into discussion, is there a motion to approve the resolution?
Well, aren't you backwards? You want to discuss before a motion?
We'll approve and then we'll ask questions later.
Well, aren't you
This
supposed
is
to
already
ask
so
questions
moved.
before you moved?
Thank you. Is there a second?
Not too complicated.
30 seconds.
No, aren't you supposed to
Thank
discuss this
you.
shit before
And
you?
now for discussion.
Okay, they make the motion, but they don't vote on it.
Any discussion or questions for either General Counsel or Human Resources?
I just have a quick question.
Yes.
Kathy?
And sorry, everyone, I can't see other hands. My question was, so for under jurisdiction, I'm assuming that all jurisdictions in Oregon, does that apply out of state active warrants as well?
I'm going to assume it does. This is Kim Sewell, Director Way, but Ankur Doshi, who drafted the amendment, is probably closer to this issue, and if he's available to answer that, I will defer to him, but I do assume it means any jurisdiction within the United States.
They know everything now, everything.
Yes, it does. This is include any jurisdiction. The particular issue that led to proposing this amendment was actually a warrant that was issued out of state that showed up on our criminal records report. Since we do an FBI criminal records report, it will pull warrants from any state that has issued one against.
But they always did FBI reports, okay? That was always that way. So that's what my question was. They already looked for this.
When they said suspend a current employee, are they running random background checks on a current employee?
I have no idea. Your guess is as good as mine.
The particular applicant.
Thank you for the explanation. I saw the notes in our board packet, and I'm just pleased to hear that this doesn't have a budget impact and also does not seem to have an impact around our just diversity and equity efforts. So,
no equity problems, Pootie.
Director Edwards, did you have a
So they're not just running background checks on minorities, okay?
Thank you. I guess I would like to know how this works as well. And is it just to be in compliance with the ORS, or is it because we've had this particular incident that's prompted this?
Oh, let's hear.
You get him, Edwards.
I'm going to yield to General Counsel on this.
Come on, yield.
This is Shelley, and I'll just jump in. I know Ankur can add to this, but this isn't prompted by the statute requirement. It's what we caught when we had this issue come up, and we realized there was a gap.
So somebody had a warrant. See, so that it actually happened somewhere. So they had the issue come up, and then they went, "Oh, well, we're not doing our jobs right."
Between
sounds like it came up after they were hired.
They hired somebody. Yeah, and then they found out he had a warrant, and now they want to fire him, but they want to fire his ass, but they need to have a motion to make it legal to fire him, I guess, because I guess this is.
So they never did a complete background check before hiring, which is their own stupidity.
Yeah,
you wait for it to come back, then you're hired.
They do an FBI background. I mean, I had an FBI background even in 1996, or whenever I got there.
What we wanted to do going forward. Is that right, Ankur?
That's correct, Shelley. And I should add that this is a pretty rare occurrence, and part of the reason that I requested this be added to amend the policy is that in about the 7 or 8 years that I've been working with criminal background checks, both in Trimet as well as my previous positions outside of Trimet, this has only come up once because generally applicants who are applying for positions usually do not have outstanding warrants. So this was when it did come up, there was a lot of questions brought up to legal about what exactly to do with this particular situation because our resolution only really covers convicted crimes and doesn't cover warrants. That's why I provided this to provide
That's right. Guilty before being guilty. Well, I guess a warrant assumes you're guilty though, right? If you get a warrant for you, that means you violated some law, or you didn't
go to court or something.
You didn't go. Yeah, it could be anything. You didn't pay your fine.
Will Leon's got warrants, but
right, but they're all for stupid shit, like whatever.
But Leon.
Yeah.
Human resources group with guidance as they pursue this, especially since this is something that does not come up that frequently.
I guess that's the concern that I have is that the same one that Director Way raises, that oftentimes these records may not be accurate, or they may be somehow something that the individual may not be aware of.
Yeah, right. That's a good point.
And I guess I get concerned because sometimes folks we may lose someone, an employee, and then they're gone. And then there was an error in the paperwork, or there was an error in the authority that issued the warrant to begin with.
That's a good point.
And is there an option for that person to get their job back?
So, Director Edwards, I can address that because we have had that issue come up in the past in other contexts, not necessarily in the warrant context that prompted this, but we do have a process and a procedure that we inform them of what we've found, and then they have an opportunity, if we're going to take any kind of a personnel action, they have an opportunity to appeal that personnel action. So yes, that we do have that in place, and that has been both successfully and unsuccessfully used in the past with applicants and employees.
Okay.
Or just wait till the background check comes in complete, and then you don't have to deal with that.
Yeah, I mean, it's, I don't know.
We haven't got the background check done yet, but go ahead and start training.
Yeah.
3 days in, we'll call you and let you know we found something. Just wait.
Yeah.
It's just as stupid as trying to vote on something before you discuss it.
All right, is it going? Okay.
Oh, you don't? Okay.
All right, vote yes, get it over with, move on.
Well, if there are no more questions and discussion, And we've got a motion by Director Bauman and seconded by Director
We
Lewis.
vote yes.
I think it's time to
Fire them all.
move forward. All in favor?
Vote no, Ozzy. Vote no.
Aye.
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 Any,
Fire
any
them all.
opposed? Any
Fucking
I
abstentions?
already do.
The motion
The fucking
carries.
serfs.
All right.
Fuck those
Moving
serfs.
on to our second resolution. This morning, it's Resolution 21-07-40, requesting that the Trimet Board of Directors authorize the General Manager to execute a contract with Raul B. Bravo plus Associates for Type 2 and Type 3 light rail vehicle midlife overhaul, engineering, and inspection services. General Manager?
Yeah, this contract with Wild and Bravo for Type 2 and Type 3 light rail vehicle midlife overhaul, engineering, and inspection. Now, this contract is for $1.2 million for 6 years. Why doesn't TriMet do this in-house? That's another example of, don't you have people in-house that can do this? I don't understand.
Probably too cheap.
I mean, come on, man.
Comments?
Thanks, President Simmons, members of the board. The purpose of this resolution is to select a firm to perform monitoring and inspection services for our overhaul of our Type 2s, Type 3 series light rail vehicles, our MAX trains. There are 79 MAX trains in this group that are receiving a midlife overhaul by the manufacturer Siemens. So far, TriMet has been performing the inspection services needed to monitor this work.
All right.
And by the way, this is in Sacramento, California, that we have to send someone down and be there on the grounds. But as this work intensifies, we've recognized that we will need assistance to keep the process on track. TriMet issued a request for proposal and selected committee debated between...
Well, that should be in-house. There's another example of privatization of service. He just told you that they're doing this in-house, but he doesn't want to continue doing it in-house. So they're just doing what they've been doing all along. They're trying to privatize every function they can. Okay?
Three very competitive firms. Although all three bidders were close, Raul V. Bravo Associates was chosen as it scored higher than the others, especially on the technical aspects. The selection committee determined that it would provide the highest quality of service for this task. The proposed contract...
Yeah, they got a whole bunch of people that sit around a table and decide who they're going to give the money to. That's quite the job to have, you know.
Is a 4-year term.
Why do they got to monitor them?
What?
Why do you have to monitor Siemens? You're already in contract with Siemens. They're overhauling.
That's a very good point now that you bring it up. Why do you need to monitor them? Don't they know what they're doing? They're the ones that built the fucking train.
If they screw something up and send the train back, then you sue them. And
Yeah, that is a good point. Why do you need to? Why are you monitoring the people that make the trains? I mean, who knows more about the train than the people who make the train? Jeez.
Yeah, I mean, what's this company going to do? Just sit there and watch them for $1.2 million?
I guess so. I have no idea.
With an option to extend
like the government guys working on the sidewalk, where 5 guys stand around, one guy works.
Yeah, that's right. That's exactly what it is.
2 additional years. The maximum contract amount for all 6 years is $1.196 million.
6
but
years?
It could fall below that figure depending on TriMet's need for the services. The cost of the contract is included.
So basically, they're taking the guy they have down there sitting around watching them. They're going to replace that guy with this contracted guy. I mean, it's $1.2 million over 6 years. So how much is that a year? That's what, 300,000 a year. So what is that? 2 positions? 1 position? They're just outsourcing this for no reason at all.
How about you do this? Don't watch them. And when they say a train is ready, then you send somebody down to look at it, sign off, and they ship the train back to you. And the guy comes back. I mean,
yeah, good point.
I mean, really, you're just checking for the final product, so you don't need to be there the whole time that they're overhauling the train. Just go down, check it out when it's done.
It seems ridiculous to me.
But that wouldn't waste 1.2 million. So
yeah,
let's go the route.
Right. It's ridiculous.
FY22 rail equipment maintenance operating budget. Raul V. Bravo Associates is a certified minority business.
Minority provider, Pootie.
In California.
Minority.
And will seek DBE certification in Oregon as well.
I'm sure they did.
The company has about 62 employees.
There you go, listen.
45% identified as minorities, and more than 22% are women.
Whoa, they're women.
Your approval is recommended. I have here interim CO.
Can they actually do this? Are they supposed to not do this? I was always under the impression that you're supposed to do these contracts by the most qualified. But that seems to have gone out the window now. It seems to be like the contracts are given out on the basis of minority ownership now. Am I right about that? That's what
some are minority ownership. Right now, a lot of these are just percentage of employees that tick the boxes, but all that does is increase racism and sexism, because now a contractor that's getting turned down these jobs because they don't have enough people that identify as a minority or identify as a woman, they'll just hire less qualified people that tick those boxes. So when Trimet comes to calling on the next contract, they can say, "Here's our number," so you get crappier work.
I mean that's potentially
people are being used as tokens. They're using for their race and for their sex, not because of it. Isn't that even worse? Just to be being used.
Yeah, I really don't understand
payroll because you're a minority.
Yeah.
Who's going to use you for your skin color? We really don't.
I mean, it used to be illegal to do that. It was illegal to actually ask who you giving the money. You couldn't bring up the race issue. It used to be supposed to be a blind type of contract proposal thing, But that's not the way it works anymore. Now it's like they're looking at your statistics of who works there, which I don't know when that actually became public policy, but it's certainly public policy.
I think it's illegal for private business, but for a government entity, I believe they're allowed to.
Well, obviously, because they're doing it.
Yeah, that's why I can't get a pizza delivery. Damn you, Ozzy.
Well, Roland Hoskins, and also we have our manager over our engineering, Chris Gleason, is here to answer any questions.
Well,
I can't see. Is Chris Gleason, is that a minority or a woman?
I don't know, but Hoskins is. I know that. I don't know who Chris Gleason is. Hoskins is now the deputy general manager. So you have two black men as head guy and second guy. But I know that means absolutely nothing in the real world. It doesn't translate to anything other than you have two black guys in charge. As we saw with Obama, it didn't lead to any positive change whatsoever.
I don't know who was speaking.
I just finished.
Oh, okay. I heard another voice. Anyway, is there a motion to approve this resolution?
Yeah, I mean, why does Siemens need to be?
This is Kim. I move to approve.
Why does?
Is there a second?
You're going to monitor the people that make the trains. It is kind of ironic, isn't it?
Wait a second.
Thank you. It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion?
All right. Yeah. So we'll move on.
I have a question.
Oh, Ozzy has a question.
I noticed we have 3 bidders listed here. Did we receive 3 total bids, or were there more bids for this scope?
I'm going to go to Chris. Chris, are you the role?
Oh, I remember that part. There's 2 bids and one that was
I'm available.
Huh? There were 2 bids and what?
And one that was incomplete.
Oh, is that what it was?
Can you everyone hear me okay?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
President Simmons and members of the board.
Here's Chris Gleason.
Good morning. I'm Chris Gleason, manager of Trimet's RMTS Engineering Support Group. Mr. Gonzalez, board member, The answer to that question is there was an additional bid. They were excluded, though.
Excluded?
Yeah. Why were they excluded? What?
4 bids total, 4 proposals.
If I remember right, they added extra stuff into the contract that wasn't part of the contract.
How do you know that?
I watched part of this board meeting.
Oh, did you? Okay. Oh, that's right. You did.
Yes,
I
you
forgot.
say there were, I guess I'm a little confused. There were 3 bidders, and there were actually 4 bidders, but one was excluded, and for
Excluded!
share here.
They get that straight
They
from
were
Trimet.
excluded to their proposal was considered non-compliant.
Oh, their proposal was non-compliant, just like that rider that won't put away his beer. You're not compliant. Get out. You're excluded.
But Edwards won't leave it alone.
You can't expand on that?
Yeah, who wants to know why? Yeah.
I can. I mean,
Yeah.
go into some detail about it.
Yes.
The structure of their proposal included things that were in the proposal package required to be left alone. They tried to make changes to some of our basic requirements for the proposal. Considered non-compliant.
Okay, thank you.
Well, that'll teach them, man.
Do we
Now we'll all
have,
vote yes.
contracting history with the proposed vendor, RVB and A?
We do, as an agency. I don't personally.
Oh. They've used him, but he has no answer. This guy has no answer.
Is there any more discussion?
That's chump change. Just give it to him.
I have a clarification question. General Manager Dessou, you mentioned with this particular vendor, they have operations in California, and that we would have staff on site.
No, they're
for
not
some
gonna,
portion.
see, Ozzy, you're not paying attention. They're not going to have staff on site. That's the reason they did this.
Of this, I wasn't clear. If you could elaborate, are we on site throughout this
let's
4-year
hear this.
term? Do we have other, or is there some sort of other sort of in on-site presence?
Well, thank you,
Thank you.
Director Gonzalez. So Chris is one of the folks that go down periodically and check on the inspections and the overhauls that's going on. We were sending down a maintenance personnel, and we were paying for a hotel, travel, food
Oh, yeah,
for
I'm
that
sure this
person
is
to be
cheaper,
able
huh?
to look at the inspections. And we found that it was cost effective for us to find a organization that's located in that area or someone there that can do the inspections for us a little bit more cost effective.
Yeah, right.
Thank you.
Well, next time I get buy a new Chevy truck, I'm going to the manufacturer plant, watching it the whole time it's getting built.
Am I hearing?
Yeah, I don't understand. I agree with you. Why
Does
are you
anyone else have
inspecting the
anything
people that know the
that
most
they
about it?
need to discuss? Hearing none, I'm going to call for the vote. Are all in favor? Please say aye.
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 Opposed? Opposed?
Nobody.
Abstained?
Unanimous decision.
Motion carries. Okay, thank you very much. We're going to move on to
All right, we'll
the
do
third
one more, and then I'm going to cut it off here.
which is 21-07-41, authorizing a contract with Skyward Construction, Inc. for the Columbia bus base.
Oh, this is at Columbia. You know, they're building this brand new garage. What a waste. Jesus Christ. I mean, come on. Oh, my God. There's going to be $4 million for, what are they going to do? For the Columbia Base Materials Management Center remodel. So the Trimet staff can't even do this. I mean, I don't even know why they're building a new fucking garage, you know? Oh, because of the division.
I think this is the one where we find out that a company based out of Toronto is from Canada. They dug into
Yeah.
Management
now Ozzy's gonna have
Center
questions about race
remodel
and
project. That's a mouthful. General Manager?
All right. Thanks, President Simmons, members of the board. So the purpose of this resolution here is to
$4 million.
request authorization of a contract.
It's $4 million with authorized with another $600,000 on top of it. which means it's $4,600,000.
with Skyward Construction.
10 million.
Yeah, they always word these contracts. They give you this amount of money, and then they say in there, but you can also get another $600,000 down the road, which means they'll get another $600,000 down the road.
This contract
This is
will
like
allow
another
Trimet
10-year
to
project.
Yeah, this I don't know. I don't know. This is another pork barrel that should have been canceled, but you know how that
They
goes.
can build a brand new football stadium
Yeah.
complete
in a
a
year, but it's
remodel
going to take like 10 years
of
to
a
build a garage.
portion of the 30-acre Columbia-based industrial property that we own. The Columbia-based bus
So they're
base.
not only they're building a new garage, but they're redoing the entire Pootie+Al garage. I mean, their pork barrels are just unbelievable right now. They have the better red, crappy, ridiculous. They got the Vision. They got the brand new garage. They got retrofitting the old garage. I mean, all this money's being spent. It's all questionable.
Will be a future bus maintenance and transportation facility, and is scheduled to be fully built over the next 10 years.
10 years! It's going to take fucking 10 years to build this thing. You know how much money they're going to fucking sink into this by the time it's done? I bet you it's going to be like 800 million. 10 years to build the fucking garage? Are you kidding me?
That's what I'm saying. They
Under
can build a
this
football stadium in a year and a half.
Right. It's what the fuck? What the fuck?
discussion today would allow for renovation of an existing 34,000 square foot warehouse on the property. The warehouse will be converted into the new materials management center that will become Trimet's primary storage and distribution facility for bus and train parts. Trimet issued an invitation to bid for this contract. Skyward produced the lowest responsive bid at $3.94 million,
Skyward
which came
Construction.
under Trimet's independent cost estimate for the work. The maximum amount of the 3-year contract will be for $4.55 million, which includes 15% for possible change orders. The amount of the contract is accounted for in the engineering, construction, and planning department budget for FY22. As for diversity,
I don't think they're getting any federal money on this one, or maybe they are because it's got something to do with division. I don't know.
Skyward has 13 employees.
Oh,
2 are whom are minorities.
Oh,
and 3 are women.
Oh,
the firm intends to use DBE firms as subcontractors.
Oh, so they're going to subcontract the contract. They're not even going to do the contract.
Well, they're not going to build it with the 14 people they got.
Yeah. Well, this isn't. They're not building anything. This is a
renovation.
Yeah. I don't know. They're like managing something. I don't know.
They're just a general
for more
contractor.
than 20% of the work.
But this is not the building the base.
This renovation is scheduled to be completed by the end of July 2024, and your approval of the resolution is recommended. So with me today to answer any questions is Executive Director Steve Witter.
Great. So board members, is there a motion to approve the resolution?
Approved.
This is Kim. I move.
Questions first.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Kim is making all the motions.
Second, this is Lori. All right. Any discussion?
No.
Yes, I have a question,
wait.
Director
Here it comes.
Simmons. Does this project fall under prevailing wage?
Oh, good question. But wait a minute. They're not doing any labor here.
Let's go to Steve. Are you there, Steve?
I should, because it's a government contract.
Yes, I am here, Shannon. Thank you. President Simmons, Director Edwards. I will get to your question in one moment. I'd just like to introduce actually the person that really could probably answer your question, which is our project manager, Karen Urata.
The managers have managers under the managers.
She's done all of the work in this.
They've got all these managers over there, boy.
I'm hopeful that she can address your question here. If not, we can get it in writing. But Karen's been with us for several years. She's a licensed architect in the state of Oregon and Washington. And Karen, I believe you're on the line. I hope you have an answer for the director's question.
I hope you have an answer.
Where's
Karen? I don't.
Good morning, Trimet board members. I actually will defer to Fiddler. I do believe he is also on the line.
So the manager defers to the manager who's going to defer to the manager.
Ultimately will become buses. Les, are you available to answer the question?
It's amazing that.
Yeah, hi, good morning. The answer is yes, this is a prevailing wage job under the Oregon prevailing wage law.
That's a grammar.
They had to go all the way down they had to go down three levels to get them to say yes.
If you want the cleaners off the bus at Park Rose to answer that.
Yeah.
Thank you for that. So that means that they, all the workers will be receiving prevailing wage to work on this. And
But this is, I don't know what this actually is. This is a management contract. This is.
That's correct.
Thank you.
I don't remember what this said.
Well, it sounds like a general contractor that's going to.
Yeah.
I had a question.
Ozzy baby.
And since Mr. Spidler's still around, perhaps this is a question directed towards you. I noticed in Section 8, the diversity section, the recommended vendor Skyward Construction has not only provided demographic information about their company, but they actually have, looks like some items itemized for specific subcontractors with some specific percent of contract. It's my assumption then that those entities are already baked into the proposal. Were they named in the proposal? Are they aware of these commitments as well? I don't know if any of that came up in the process. I only ask because I'm not used to seeing that level of information in a proposal at this stage.
Yeah, thanks for the question, Director Gonzalez. With a low bid, we require the prime contractor, who is the apparent low bidder, to submit documentation on their good faith effort outreach. So any trade or scope of work that they're not going to self-perform, they're required to conduct a good faith effort to find a certified firm to perform that work. So the companies that are named here as the certified subcontractors were reached out to and have committed their pricing to Skyward, and Skyward will be using them for those scopes of work and has incorporated their bids for the subcontract scope of work into their overall price.
Thank you.
Okay, yippee doodle. Thank you.
That sets a very fair level of expectation that these are actually these would move forward. I appreciate that.
I have one other question.
Wait.
That's hiring engineers and architects. That's not enough to get the work on the ground.
The nuance of monthly reports on the personnel that are going to be working on this particular project for the general contractor. In other words, the classifications and the wages.
This contract is Mickey Mouse money compared to what Stacy and Whitbeck gets, okay? Stacy and Whitbeck just got this ridiculously huge contract for the Better Red pork barrel. I mean, something like $100 million or something.
Nobody cares what the diversity is.
No, they automatically get, that's the number one. That's the big time pork barrel recipient for Trimet, Stacy and Whitbeck.
To make sure that they line up.
So we use a software system called LCP Tracker, which requires the prime contractor and subcontractors to basically enter their prevailing wage or certified payroll reports, which are then verified by Trimet staff to ensure that they are in fact paying their employees the prevailing wage.
What does that mean?
Does it also track the employee to make sure that I'm a
lot of companies won't pay their employees the prevailing wage.
Yeah.
But the contractors or the architect or the builder, in this case Trimet, is responsible for going on site and randomly checking. He pulls somebody aside. And I worked at construction many years. A lot of the Hispanic-owned companies, the boss isn't paying prevailing wage, and they had no clue what prevailing wage is. So they,
right.
The owner pockets all the money, but
yeah,
the general contractor will go out and randomly ask people, "Hey, how much you getting paid?"
Right.
And then they say, "Oh, $16," and it's supposed to be $25.
Yeah.
That contractor has got a lot to answer for.
Yeah.
A journey level employee being paid journey wages as or an apprentice being paid apprentice wages?
It does. It tracks. Sorry.
No, go ahead, Les. I'll follow you.
It does. It tracks. It tracks if they're a journey level employee or an apprentice, and then the appropriate wage.
Calm down, Edward.
Director Edwards, to ensure compliance and accuracy, I actually have a full-time staff member that supports Trimet in the certified payroll effort and does field visits, audits, and other checks to ensure that the tradespeople are paid properly.
I see.
Great. Thank
Trimet
you.
on the job, man.
Thank you for your
The pork barrel
questions,
leader.
Director Edwards and Director Gonzalez. If there's no more discussion,
Yeah, hurry up. Pass the
are we
stupid
ready for the
motion.
vote?
I do have one more
Oh, here
point,
comes Ozzy.
if I may, President Simmons. It's not a question, but I really want to point it out for the sake of the board and the public. I want to acknowledge, we have 3 vendors listed here. The recommended vendor clearly came in with a more competitive price. I'm glad to know that they are responsive. It's great to see the inclusion plan this well thought through. We do have in the midst some vendors here who have worked all with Trimet but are now coming in as a prime. O'Neill, who did not come in with the most competitive price, is a certified MBE here in Oregon, and I just wanted to make sure to point that out. Thank you to the public to the board for considering them. When we have, as we have these sorts of vendors coming to us, I know that part of their success rate improves when they're able to see, what the competition is like and how bids come in. Do we have any interaction in the proposal or in the bidding process for people to review bids after the fact and get feedback from the project management team on how they did, frankly, so they could learn for the next round?
We do. We would.
Company,
In our typical protocol.
I mean, they put out the specifications, the company's bid. That's what they do. You
don't go back afterwards and say, hey, you.
Yeah, this isn't a high school exam. This is
You marked down $750,000 for this. If you had put $600,000,
Right.
you would have got the contract.
Right. They're not.
That takes away the fair bidding. That takes away just.
Yeah. This is people bid and that's it. Okay, here's your specifications. Submit your bid. That's it. I mean, Trimet's not going to come back and say, well, yeah, exactly.
Would be to encourage them to submit a public records request, and once they receive the information, we would be happy to sit down with them and go over their bid.
Yes, I see it all the time. The losing bid submits public information requests to get the
You don't hold their hand and say, you worked with us before, you're my friend, let me tell you where you went wrong.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
You got insider information next time. Come on, Ozzy.
Yeah, Ozzy, you should know better, Ozzy. I'm surprised at you.
To the estimate or relative to the low bidder to show the areas that maybe their assumptions were off or different than the low bidders. So there is that process, and we'd be happy to make it more announced and more readily available. But we typically wait for someone to request it.
Thank you so much. I really hope our
baby. Okay, hurry up and pass
supplier community takes us up on that. It's a fantastic way to really learn how to be more successful. Thank you.
Fantastic way to be.
Okay, are we ready for the vote?
Yeah,
then?
she wants to get it over with.
All in favor? Say
Aye.
Aye. Any
Aye.
opposed?
No.
Any abstentions?
None.
Motion carries.
Unanimous.
So now our last resolution
Wait a minute. How much time is
for
it?
us today is
I don't want to finish
21-07-40.
this. I'm done. All right. Any further? Any final thoughts, Pootie?
I want to thank the hobo, Goldfield. I wouldn't be here today with you. Rippy, shove a vaccine up your butt. God bless the USA.
All right, Pootie. See you later, buddy.
Later.
Take care. All right, that ends today's episode. Very boring episode, but a little. Oh, look! Wait a minute. Wait, shit. They put our. Well, maybe look. They put our chat back. Okay, I think I got this. I think what happened here is that, okay, now I'm understanding. The chat appears at the point where we made the chat. Okay, it doesn't appear. They didn't actually delete our chat. Okay, I'm glad to see that. The chat appears at the point where we were saying it. Like we didn't chime in on this board. I didn't get in on it until later. So the chat is actually still there. So I was wrong. They didn't I'm wrong. They got me again. Trimet did not delete our chat after all. That's score one for Trimet, and Al loses another one. Over and out.